Mornings in Green Hills begin quietly. The golden letters of Walker Real Estate gleamed on the stone building facing Main Street in the small town. The spring sunlight reflected off the glass windows, highlighting the white hair of George Walker sitting inside. He was the most successful real estate agent in town, and his presence was deeply rooted in the social landscape of Green Hills, both as a church elder and an important member of the Chamber of Commerce. On this morning too, Elizabeth was hurrying her daughter Amy before heading to her job at the local bank. In the kitchen of their small rental apartment, she called out while clearing the breakfast dishes. "Amy, hurry up. You'll be late for school." "I'll be ready soon, Mom," came the voice of the 7-year-old girl from the bedroom. Elizabeth glanced at her reflection in the mirror. Her brown hair was beautiful, and her blue eyes were filled with intelligence. However, behind those eyes, fatigue and anxiety were always lurking. Her daily life as a single mother working while raising a child was never easy. With a deep sigh, Liz checked her mobile phone. There was a message from her mother Martha. "There's a meeting about Vanessa's engagement party, so don't be late tonight. 7 o'clock sharp. If you're bringing Amy, make sure she wears proper clothes." Liz nodded slightly. Her sister Vanessa was always perfect. She had graduated from a prestigious university, worked at the most historic law firm in town, and was now engaged to Derek Hamilton, the son of the wealthiest family in town. For her parents, Vanessa was always a source of pride, while Liz was merely a shadow. "Mom, is this okay?" Amy appeared, wearing her school uniform and asking brightly. Her golden hair and blue eyes were just like Liz's. "Perfect, sweetie," Liz gently stroked her daughter's head. "Have a good day today." They left the apartment and went down the stairs from the small balcony facing the street. As they walked through town, people exchanged greetings, but their eyes always held a mixture of curiosity and pity. In a small town like Green Hills, everyone knew Liz and Amy's shameful past. 11 years ago, Liz, a freshman in college, fell in love with Thomas Clark. He was a charming art major who captivated her heart. However, when she told him about her pregnancy, Thomas escaped responsibility and left town in the night. Liz dropped out of college, returned home, and gave birth to Amy under the strict surveillance and condemnation of her parents. Disgrace. This was her father George's word. To have a child out of wedlock in our family. Martha worried about her position in society, while Vanessa secretly rejoiced in suddenly being able to monopolize her parents' attention. Liz hugged Amy in front of the bank. "Go to Grandma's house after school. I'll come pick you up." "Mom, I don't like Grandma's house," Amy said in a small voice. "Everyone looks at me funny." Liz felt her heart tighten. Her daughter was sensitive and could feel her place in the Walker family. Her grandparents and aunt were outwardly kind to her, but they always called her that child, excluded her from family photos, and compared her to Vanessa's success. "It's okay, you're a strong girl," she hugged her daughter. "Do your best today." As Liz opened the glass doors of the bank, she felt anxious about tonight's family gathering. Vanessa's engagement was the talk of the town, and the wedding was set to be a major social event. Liz and Amy were expected to participate as supporting roles, but she knew that all her parents and Vanessa really wanted was for them to remain inconspicuous. In the afternoon, there was a call from Martha. "Elizabeth, Derek's parents will be there tonight too, so be especially careful. If you're asked questions, talk about your situation as little as possible." Liz took a deep breath. "I understand, Mother." At 7 o'clock, Liz and Amy arrived at the Walkers' large white house. Martha greeted them at the entrance. Her gray hair was perfectly set, and a pearl necklace gleamed at her neck. "You're late," Martha said without looking at Liz. Then, looking at Amy, she forced a smile. "Good evening, Amy. There are suites in the dining room." Liz entered the house with slumped shoulders. The living room was filled with elegant people. Vanessa and Derek shone in the center. "Oh, Elizabeth," Vanessa said with a superficial smile. "You came. And Amy, lovely." Liz nodded silently. In this house, she always lost her words. George approached. "Elizabeth, how's work going?" There was coldness in his voice. "Fine, Dad. It's going well. As the evening progressed, Liz and Amy were pushed to the sidelines. Everyone seemed to avoid them, and conversations were only about Vanessa's brilliant future and the connection with the Hamilton family. Liz squeezed Amy's hand. She had always been an outsider in her family, but she didn't want her daughter to feel the same way. "Let's go home early," Liz whispered to Amy. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, after Liz sent Amy off to ballet class, she was cleaning the apartment alone when an unexpected phone call came. "Elizabeth, I want you to come to the house this afternoon." George's voice was strict and in a tone that allowed no argument. "We have important matters to discuss." "You don't need to bring Amy." Liz agreed obediently despite feeling anxious. "All right, Dad. Is around 2 okay?" After hanging up, she fought against the ominous feeling spreading in her chest. Recently, as preparations for Vanessa's wedding intensified, the cold gazes toward Liz and Amy had grown even harsher. Especially at events where the Hamilton family participated, their presence was increasingly made less prominent. At 2 in the afternoon, Liz stood at the entrance of the Walkers' large house. Martha opened the door. Where she would normally put on a sociable smile, today she simply invited Liz in silently. "Go to the study. Your father is waiting." Liz quietly walked down the hallway and knocked on the heavy oak door. Responding to George's "come in," she entered the room. Both parents were in the study. George stood in front of his large desk, and Martha sat on a sofa by the window. The air in the room was filled with tension. "Sit down, Elizabeth," George instructed. There was coldness in his voice. Liz obeyed silently and searched her parents' expressions. Both had severe faces but also seemed filled with determination. "Elizabeth, we have been thinking for a long time," George began. "To cut to the chase, we do not want you and Amy to attend Vanessa's wedding." Liz couldn't believe her ears. "What? Please, don't you, a single mother, spoil your sister's wedding. Leave this house." George's voice suddenly grew louder. "The Hamilton family is the most prestigious in town. Derek's parents already find you and Amy displeasing. If you attend the wedding, you'll embarrass us in front of the whole town." Liz clasped her trembling hands on her knees. "Dad, I'm family. Amy is your granddaughter." Martha interjected. "Elizabeth, face reality. You made your choice. This is the result." "Choice?" Liz raised her voice. "When Thomas abandoned me, I had no choices. Still, I looked forward, raised Amy, and lived on my own strength. Is that something to be ashamed of?" "That's not the issue," George said coldly. "We have supported you financially. Even your job at the bank was thanks to my introduction. Despite that, you have always brought shame to the family." Liz answered quietly, with tears in her eyes. "I have never thought of it as shameful. I've raised my daughter with pride. What's truly shameful are people who can't love their own child or grandchild." A heavy silence fell over the room. "The decision has been made," George finally said. "I want you to leave town within a week. We'll provide funds for your new life. But I don't want you to come back here again." Liz stood frozen. She realized this was an ultimatum. Something crumbled within her, but at the same time, a new strength welled up. "I understand," she finally said. "We'll leave. But someday, you'll regret this decision." That night, after Amy had fallen asleep in the apartment, Liz quietly began packing. Her belongings were surprisingly few, fitting into just 2 suitcases. She still couldn't find the words to explain to Amy. The next morning, Liz submitted her resignation to the bank. "Due to family circumstances, I have to leave town suddenly," she explained. Her colleagues were surprised, but in Green Hills, rumors spread quickly. Many already seemed to know that Liz had been banished. 3 days later, she gently spoke to Amy. "Amy, you and I are going to move to a new place. A big city, with a new school, new friends, everything will be a fresh start." "But why so suddenly?" Amy asked, looking confused. "What about Grandpa and Grandma? What about Aunt Vanessa's wedding?" Liz took a deep breath. Sometimes, even family needs to live apart. Someday you'll understand. But for now, this is the best path for us. The little girl looked sad but nodded. As long as I'm with you, Mom, anywhere is fine. At those words, Liz hugged her daughter tightly. You make me strong. On the final day, Liz decided to go to her parents' home for a last. Amy was spending her last hours with neighborhood friends. With heavy steps toward the Walker house, Liz imprinted each view of the town in her mind. Most of her life spent here flashed through her mind. When she arrived at the house, Martha was waiting at the entrance. Are you finished packing? Her voice lacked emotion. Yes, Liz answered briefly. I came to say. George went out for work, Martha said, as if her husband had intentionally avoided this moment. Liz stared at her mother's face. Mom, are you really okay with this? You'll never see your granddaughter again? Martha seemed momentarily disturbed but quickly regained her composure. This is for the best. You'll understand with time. Liz said nothing. She took out an envelope and placed it on the table. These are photos of Amy. If you ever want to see her. As she was leaving the house, she passed Vanessa coming down the stairs. Her sister was wearing an elegant dress, clearly on her way to some appointment. Oh, Elizabeth, Vanessa smiled coldly. Leaving already? Liz nodded quietly. Life failure, Vanessa said as they passed in the hallway. Now even your shadow will disappear from our family photos. Liz felt her chest tighten at those words, but she couldn't open her mouth. She left the house silently, holding only the image of her daughter in her heart. That evening, Liz and Amy boarded a late-night bus leaving Green Hills with their few belongings. The funds for a new life from her father amounted to a few $1,000s. That and 2 suitcases were their only possessions. As the bus started moving and the lights of the small town began to recede, Liz quietly shed tears. Her reflection in the window seemed to symbolize a farewell to her past self. Mom, where are we going? Amy, seated next to her, asked half asleep. Liz wiped away her tears and answered in a strong voice. To a place of new beginnings, sweetheart. A place where no one will determine our worth. The bus continued north on the night highway, beginning the long journey to Chicago. Chicago's winter was much harsher than Green Hills. Amid the swirling snow, Liz gazed out the window of their small apartment on the north side of the city. 3 months had passed since their arrival, and finally, her life with Amy was starting to find its footing. The first few weeks had been hellish. Liz barely slept as she searched for a place to live with limited funds, arranged Amy's school transfer, and looked for work. But her indomitable spirit kept her going. She initially worked as a cashier at a local supermarket, served at a nearby restaurant in the evenings, and studied bookkeeping through online classes after Amy fell asleep. Mom, look. Amy returned from school and showed her a test paper. A red A shone brightly. I got a perfect score in math. That's wonderful. Liz smiled, stroking her daughter's head. You're so smart. Amy was adapting to her new school better than expected. Here, no one knew her past, and she was treated simply as a bright, intelligent girl. Liz was confident that leaving that town had been the right decision, seeing her daughter spread her wings freely. Are we doing anything special today? Amy asked. It's Friday. Liz smiled apologetically. I'm sorry, I have an interview at the Magnolia Hotel today. But I'll bring home pizza on my way back. How's that? Amy looked a bit disappointed but quickly nodded brightly. Okay. Good luck, Mom. The Magnolia Hotel was one of the city's finest luxury hotels. Liz had found a receptionist position advertised in the newspaper and applied immediately. Her only experience was customer service at the bank, but she was grateful for the interview opportunity. In the afternoon, Liz stood in the hotel lobby, overwhelmed by its grandeur. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and elegantly behaving staff. She approached the interview nervously but determinedly. Ms. Walker, your background is in banking, the interviewer said, reviewing her resume. Yes. I worked in customer service and as a cashier for 7 years, Liz answered confidently. I'm confident in my ability to remain calm in any situation. The interview progressed smoothly, and Liz proudly presented her skills and experience. Surprisingly, her experience at the small bank in Green Hills became her strength. "Can you start next week?" the interviewer smiled. "We've been looking for someone like you." Liz couldn't hide her surprise and joy. "Of course. Thank you." The new job transformed her life. The salary was nearly double her previous pay, and the hours were regular. Amy could participate in after-school programs, and Liz could quit her evening part-time job. Their lives slowly but surely stabilized. About a year after starting work at the Magnolia Hotel, Liz was working at the front desk one day. Late in the afternoon, a man in an expensive suit hurriedly entered. "I'd like to confirm my reservation." Michael Bradford, his voice was calm, but fatigue showed in his eyes. Liz checked the computer. "Mr. Bradford, we've been expecting you. Your suite is ready, but there's one thing I need to confirm." She frowned while looking at the screen. "Your conference room reservation is for tomorrow at 10 a.m., but it seems there's another booking at the same time." The man looked confused. "That's impossible. My assistant confirmed it last week." Liz responded calmly. "Please wait a moment. I'll check right away." She quickly picked up the internal line, spoke with the event management department, and then smiled at Michael. "Mr. Bradford, I've resolved the issue. It seems there was a small error in the system. Your room has been changed to the grand ballroom, and preparations are already underway. There will be no additional charge." Michael's expression softened. "That's excellent service. Thank you." He looked at her name tag. "Elizabeth." "Please call me Liz," she smiled. "Is there anything else I can help you with?" "Actually, tomorrow's meeting is very important for my company," Michael began to explain. "It's a presentation for a new real estate development project, with investors gathering from across the country." Liz listened with interest. "That sounds wonderful. What kind of project is it?" "It's about providing affordable and environmentally friendly housing," he answered, seeming a bit surprised. "Not many people ask for details." "I know a bit about real estate," Liz smiled. "Previously, in a small town, at a real estate company." She hesitated for a moment. "My family was in the real estate business." Over the next few days, Michael nodded to Liz several times. His meeting seemed to have been a great success, and on the day before leaving the hotel, he appeared at the front desk again. "Liz, thanks to you, my stay was extremely comfortable," he said. "Actually, I have a proposition. There's an assistant position open at my company. I'd like someone as capable as you. Would you be interested?" Liz was speechless. "Are you serious?" "Of course," Michael smiled. "The salary is better than here, and the hours are flexible. Most importantly, I think it's a place where you can use your skills." A week later, Liz began working at Bradford Real Estate Development. Working with Michael exceeded her expectations. He was fair, passionate, and listened to her opinions. After a few months, their professional relationship gradually became personal. First, just lunches, then dinners after work. Michael expressed his desire to meet Amy, and the three began going to the zoo and museums together. "Liz, you're truly an amazing woman," Michael said one night as they walked along the Chicago River. "To start from scratch in a new city in such a short time and accomplish all this." Liz smiled shyly. "I had no choice. I had to be strong for Amy. That strength is what attracts me to you." Michael took her hand. "You and Amy are special." That night, after their first kiss, Liz felt the dam of emotions she had suppressed for so long breaking. She told Michael everything. About life in Green Hills, her relationship with her parents, and how she was banished. Michael listened silently and finally embraced Liz. "They didn't have the eyes to see your worth. But I do." 3 years after they began dating, Michael proposed to Liz. On the terrace of his penthouse, with the Chicago skyline as a backdrop, he knelt down. "Liz, from the moment we met, I've been captivated by your strength and kindness. Will you complete my and Amy's life? Tears welled up in Liz's eyes. Yes, of course. Their wedding was small but heartwarming. Amy served as the bridesmaid, and Michael's close friends attended. After the ceremony, Michael began the process to formally adopt Amy. Are you really sure? Amy asked anxiously. That I'll become your daughter. Michael gently placed his hand on her shoulder. Amy, I've thought of you as my daughter from the beginning. This is just declaring it to the world. Amy jumped up and hugged Michael. Dad. It was the first time she called him that. Liz and Amy moved into Michael's spacious penthouse and experienced the warmth of a true family for the first time. Amy took pride in having the surname Bradford and began to carry herself with confidence at school. Michael didn't miss his wife's talent. He entrusted Liz with a department of the company, and she began to realize her potential in the world of real estate development. In particular, the environmentally conscious housing project for low-income residents that she proposed became a great success and created buzz in the industry. At night, as the lights of Chicago shone through the window, Liz often reflected on the past. 7 years since leaving Green Hills. The pain of that day was still deep in her heart, but it had made her stronger. With her new family of Michael and Amy, she had discovered true happiness for the first time. What are you thinking about? Michael asked beside her. Liz smiled. How much life has changed. When I was driven out that day, I couldn't imagine such happiness awaited me. Michael squeezed her hand. Sometimes, the worst events can open doors to the best life. Liz nodded and looked at the lights outside the window. In her heart was a peace she hadn't felt for a long time. Bradford Real Estate Development was expanding its business from its Chicago base to locations across the United States. Michael and Liz had built an exquisite partnership, with his bold vision and her meticulous execution accelerating the company's growth. 7 years into their marriage, Amy had become a high school student. The Ohio project was completed 2 months ahead of schedule, Michael reported, opening the office door. Where should we expand next? Liz pointed to a map. I think Southern Illinois development looks promising. But first, let's go inspect the project in St. Louis. They began planning their business trip. Amy is busy with a school project, so it'll just be us, Liz said. In that case, how about taking a detour? Michael suggested. From St. Louis, your hometown of Green Hills isn't that far, is it? Liz caught her breath for a moment. Green Hills. It's been 10 years, Liz, Michael said gently. There might be something you can resolve within yourself. Liz gazed out the window. I'll think about it. The day after completing the project inspection in St. Louis, Liz made her decision. Let's stop by Green Hills. Just a quick visit. Entering the small town, Liz's chest filled with nostalgia and pain. 10 years had barely changed the town. The same stores, the same buildings, and probably the same gossip still dominated the town. This is the town I grew up in, Liz guided Michael through the center of town. That's Walker Real Estate. My father's company. They stopped the car and began walking down Main Street. Liz wore sunglasses and unconsciously hunched over, trying not to be noticed. Nervous? Michael squeezed her hand. A little, Liz admitted. But I'm okay. As they walked, they came upon a small church. Something was posted on the bulletin board. Liz unconsciously stopped and looked at it. And the color drained from her face. Michael. She pointed to the bulletin board with trembling fingers. There was a notice for Elizabeth Walker Memorial Service, posted, using a photo of Liz from her younger days. The date was tomorrow. They think you're dead, Michael exclaimed in surprise. Liz was speechless. Michael led her to a nearby cafe to calm her down. They checked the local newspaper's website online. There was a small article. Sad news, former Green Hills resident Elizabeth Walker passed away last week in a traffic accident in Chicago. Vanessa Hamilton will preside over the memorial service. What does this mean? Liz was confused. Why am I supposedly dead? Michael frowned. We need to investigate. They contacted a local lawyer and explained the situation. The lawyer returned a few hours later with information that shocked them further. It seems Vanessa submitted a death certificate, the lawyer explained. Furthermore, a life insurance claim has been made in Elizabeth's name. The insurance amount is $500,000. Insurance. Liz's eyes widened. I never enrolled in such insurance. Further investigation revealed that Vanessa had enrolled in life insurance under Liz's name years ago and had been paying the premiums. She had exploited Liz's disappearance to fake her death. We should take legal action. Michael couldn't contain his anger. This is fraud. But Liz quietly shook her head. No, there's a more effective way. A light gleamed in her eyes. Let's attend the funeral tomorrow. The next day, a wealthy-looking woman wearing a black veil quietly attended Elizabeth Walker's memorial service. The church was unexpectedly filled with many people. George and Martha Walker sat in the front seats, along with Vanessa and her husband Derek. The pastor began the ceremony, and Vanessa stepped forward to speak. My beloved sister Elizabeth led an unfortunate life, she spoke emotionally. But we always supported her. Even before she finally went to Chicago, we tried to dissuade her. Sympathetic sighs spread through the venue. George and Martha pressed handkerchiefs to their eyes. Now, she is in a peaceful place, Vanessa continued. Her life was a tragedy, but she was saved by death. Liz slowly stood up. From the back of the hall, she lifted her veil. I am alive. Her voice echoed throughout the church. The venue erupted in commotion. People turned and stared at Liz. Vanessa froze like stone at the podium. The blood drained from George and Martha's faces. Liz walked toward the front with composed steps. I'm sorry to surprise you, she addressed the congregation. But the opportunity to attend your own funeral doesn't come along every day. She stood beside Vanessa. I did indeed leave this town 10 years ago. However, it wasn't a voluntary choice. I was banished by my family. Told don't let you, a single mother, spoil your sister's wedding, and ordered to leave this house. The venue fell completely silent. Liz continued. I certainly struggled. But I have never led an unfortunate life. I was banished by my family and raised my daughter alone. And now, I am the wife of Michael Bradford and co-manager of Bradford Real Estate Group. At Liz's signal, Michael entered from the church entrance. He stood beside Liz with dignified steps. And this is my real family, Liz said. We are bound by love and respect. I didn't come back here for life insurance money. I came to tell the truth. Vanessa turned pale, and Martha was in tears. George just sat there stunned. Liz quietly continued. I am far more alive than those who tried to claim me dead for insurance money. And I'm living a life filled with love. She took Michael's hand. Now, let's go home. Our family is waiting. As they were about to leave the church, Martha stood up and called out in a trembling voice. Elizabeth, wait. But Liz didn't look back. A month passed. The small town of Green Hills was shaken by a major scandal. The local newspaper reported on the Walker family's attempted insurance fraud, and in social circles, no one mentioned Martha's name anymore. George's Walker Real Estate lost customers and struggled with debt. Those who had once been central figures in the town were now avoided by everyone. Ironically, they had brought upon themselves the very shame they had feared most. Vanessa faced an investigation from the State Bar Association and was in danger of losing her law license. Her husband Derek, unable to bear her lies, had filed for divorce. The Hamilton family had severed ties with her, and she had completely lost her former shine. Back in Chicago, Liz and Michael returned to their lives. Amy was busy preparing for college and was fascinated by her parents' adventure. Mom, what will happen to Grandpa and Grandma? Amy asked one day. Liz was silent for a while. I don't know. But it's the path they chose. Actually, after achieving her revenge, Liz surprisingly felt a sense of emptiness. She may have won, but the taste of victory was different from what she had imagined. Sometimes at night, she would secretly cry. "What's wrong?" Michael noticed her tears one night. "I might be strange," Liz confessed. "I should feel angry toward them, but somehow I feel sad." Michael embraced her. "That's because you have a kind heart. Continuing to hate only binds yourself." At his words, Liz felt something release within her heart. A few weeks later, Liz made up her mind and wrote a letter. "Dad, Mom. I have learned to forgive you. It comes not from weakness, but from strength. I've learned that real family is not bound by blood, but by love and respect. I hope someday you'll understand." There was no reply. However, 2 months later, a small package arrived. Inside was an old album and a short letter from Martha. "Elizabeth, this is for you and Amy. Someday, please tell her about our family. Though filled with mistakes, it is still her roots." Liz flipped through the album. It contained photos from her childhood, memories from when George and Martha had loved her. On the last page was a photo of baby Amy and young Liz. On the back was written, "Our first grandchild." Time passed, and Liz and Michael decided to adopt. They welcomed 2 siblings, a little girl and boy, into their family. Amy went to college to study architecture, hoping to continue her parents' business. As for Green Hills, only rumors reached them that Vanessa had left town and was living alone. She was the only one in the family who couldn't accept forgiveness. 5 years later, Liz finally met George and Martha. It was a peaceful reunion. They had grown old and humble. The conversation was difficult but was a first step. Being a family isn't easy, Liz later told her adopted children. But a real family isn't made by blood ties, but by choice and love. Just as you chose us, we chose you. Liz's life had come full circle. The once banished daughter now stood at the center of a loving family. Her strength lay not only in overcoming difficulties but also in having a heart that could forgive.